China's diplomatic ties with Africa date back to the 1970s. But since the first Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in 2000, economic relations have deepened considerably. That partnership strengthened further under China Belt and Road Strategy, a global initiative focused on large-scale infrastructure, energy and mining development across Asia, Europe and Africa.
China has been a strategic partner and present on the African continent for quite a number of years. So we are looking to those peer learnings and seeing how, as best as possible, we can replicate the success stories and have candid conversations about what works and what doesn't work.
As the African Union convenes for its 39th ordinary session, the development priorities set out in Agenda 2063 remain firmly at the center of discussions.
The priority was to really assess mechanisms of financing infrastructure on the African continent, being mindful that we've got a huge infrastructure deficit and infrastructure gap. We've been talking about for many, many years to say we need minimum $100 billion per annum between now and 2030, which is around the corner, to close our infrastructure gap.
Research by the Green Finance and Development Center shows Africa topped the list of Belt and Road investments in 2025, reaching $61.2 billion. From Maputo to Zambia, Nigeria and Kenya, China has been expanding transport and energy networks across the continent. Among the most notable projects is Kakulu Kabasa hydropower project in Angola, one of several high-impact Chinese-backed developments.
So you have the Chinese that come, they build a dam in a short period of time, and it actually impacts the societies around that to create new businesses and new business opportunities. But we also need to have the kind of enabling policies on the continent.
The emphasis is now shifting away from traditional aid and mega infrastructure projects towards a more strategic, long-term partnership. Among the AU's priorities is sustainable debt, local value addition, and accelerating the Africa Free Trade Area.
So we see a huge focus in the next meeting on how China can work with us to industrialize, to make sure that they help us and bring those technologies to beneficiate and start building things that will make South Africa and the rest of the continent much better than they found it, with poor infrastructure, with huge resources, but poorly exploited.
In the past, we've seen a lot of extraction and no value add on the continent, but we're seeing slowly, there's a project in Mozambique where there's processing on the ground. There's a project in Zimbabwe with the lithium processing plants. So we're slowly starting to see a move towards that innovation happening on the continent.
Since 2013, Belt and Road investment in Africa has laid down more than 12,000 kilometers of roads and railways, 800 greenfield investments in ports and power facilities, and reshaped key regional corridors. As China deepens its engagement across the continent, the onus remains on African governments to ensure these investments advance the goals of Agenda 2063. Julie Shara, CGTN, Cape Town.